Thank you everyone for being here. Very excited to be here with everyone across the state. Super exciting. Thank you, Kim and Mary, for putting all this together and all the hard work you do for VAFMA. If you don't know who I am Ricky Kavaleski. I am the market manager of the Lynchburg Community Market in downtown Lynchburg. And I also serve on the VAFMA Board of Directors as the Blue Ridge Regional Director. So hopefully, if I don't know you, I hope to soon. We have a really exciting agenda today. We've got a lot of really great speakers, a lot of really useful information. We are recording this, so if we need to go back and look at it at any time in the future, that will be available at some point soon. Really just some housekeeping stuff. Everyone walking in should be muted. Go ahead and stay muted. If you have any questions for any of the speakers or anything, throw it in the chat while they're talking. There should be some time after their presentations to go over some of those questions. We'll keep an eye on the chat and everything for anything that comes through. Go ahead and raise your hand, I guess, if you're having any issues, and we'll try and reach out. But other than that, just because we've only got about an hour and a half, I'm sorry, 2 hours, 2.5 hours for 6 presentations. We are on a bit of a time crunch, so we'll go ahead and get started as soon as we are ready to go. Like I said, we've got a bunch of really exciting speakers today. As always, we've got the VAFMA Executive Director, Dr. Kim Hutchinson, with us to give us some VAFMA updates and super exciting stuff that's happening for the Farmers Market Association, so that's very exciting. Can't wait to see that. Kim is always super helpful with anything, as I think we all know from the last at least 2 years. We've also got VDAX with us, Pam Miles, Program Supervisor of the Food Safety Program. She's got some food safety updates for us, and as well as hemp program updates. I'm sure a lot of us have seen some hemp or CBD vendors popping up in the last year. So that's really exciting. We've also got Virginia Department of Health, Carol Puckett, VDH updates for that. We'll get into that in a bit. Meredith Ledley Johnson, as always, wonderful. From Cooperative Extension with a bunch of updates, SNAP, EBT equipment, all that kind of fun stuff. The market manager survey that VCE sent out last year, really great stuff. And last but absolutely not least, Elizabeth Borst from Virginia Community Food Connections. I always want to say extensions because of VCE. With Fresh Match updates, hopefully everyone signed on to those letters of support that Fresh Match sent out a couple of weeks ago. Once we get through all that, then we will have our regional breakout rooms where we'll kind of break off into our respective regions and kind of just talk markets and VAFMA and all that fun stuff. So if we are ready to go, Kim, I will turn it over to you 2 minutes early.
Well, awesome, because I can't speak in a lot of time to save my life, so I could use the extra 2 minutes. Thank you, Ricky, so much. This was Ricky's brainchild. He is a fantastic board director for VAFMA, as well as he's the regional lead, as he shared, for the Blue Ridge region, and he has been bringing his group together for several years to have conversations. And when he and I were chatting, and he suggested that we expand and bring everybody from around the state together and have updates, we thought that was a great idea. And so we'll have speakers, and then what we will do when the speakers are done is we will go into breakout rooms and have regional meetings where you as market managers can participate one-on-one and have conversations with each other within your region. So next slide, please, Mary. So the Virginia Farmers Market has had a very exciting couple of years, and I'm using that word in the most positive manner as possible. We really hit the ground running with COVID, and we're wondering what we were going to see coming out of COVID with farmers markets, and really had, we're really excited to see, as we came out of the 2020 year, the continued growth and viability of farmers markets across Virginia, seeing kind of across the board that we were able to retain between 38 and 42% of the new business that we had at markets. So very exciting. As many of you know, our organization is broken up into 8 regions, which we will see today as we break out into our breakout rooms. But as part of these 8 regions, we actually have a board director that represents each of these regions. So for example, Ricky oversees the Blue Ridge region as a board director for our organization. We are in the process of re-electing our board, and I'm very excited to announce that Ricky has agreed to accept our nomination to move into the vice president of VAFMA's role for starting in 2023, and we are very honored and thrilled that he has agreed to that. But we also are looking for additional board members for our organization in order to support our community. We actually have 3 openings starting in 2023. We are looking for a board member in the central region, which is Spotsylvania, Fredericksburg. It's between basically Richmond and Northern Virginia. It's kind of this little unique spread area. And we're looking for, it covers Orange County, Spotsylvania, et cetera. And so if anybody is interested in working with us in that area, please let me know. And we also are looking for representation in the Northern Virginia area as a board director representing the Northern Virginia area. And so that area is everything from basically Fredericksburg going up, Dale City, Woodbridge, Alexandria, Arlington, et cetera. And so if you have interest in those 2 positions, please reach out to me. We have one position that has become available as a director at large. Caleb Miller has finished his doctorate and is running the food banks out in the Midwest, and has, unfortunately for us, resigned as a board member in the coastal area. We still are very excited to have Amy in the coastal area as our regional director, but we do have a director at large, and that person can be representative of any area throughout Virginia. So as y'all are thinking about what the Farmers Market State Association is doing and your opportunity to get involved or want to have a say or impact in the advocacy and the programs that we're doing, let me know, because serving on the board is the way to do that, to help us strategically plan and align with what the needs are of the community. Next slide, please. So we have gotten stronger every year, and I think COVID really solidified us as a membership organization. And we have continued to build benefits for the organization for our members. I think probably most specifically or most visibly, I mean, it's great that you get 10% off of your Easy Up pence, but having somebody on a legislative front to be able to advocate for us to become essential, to have us put into the Virginia Love campaign, Virginia's for Lovers, and developing a Virginia's Farmers Market Lovers Trail are instrumental in being able to positively impact your business. So for those of you that are not members of VAFMA, I encourage you to join us. But we as an organization are continuing to actively advocate and support you as markets, and looking for multiple ways that we can help you, most specifically with additional trainings and education and resources that we can help you to better run your markets. Next slide, please. As part of the, I guess I should have said with the last slide, but as part of what we're doing for our membership is that our regional directors hold market manager meetings. They hold at least 2 a year. Some of the regions, like Ricky's, do them more often. And I think that that is a tremendous benefit for our membership. But we are looking to continue to hold these regional meetings, both one-on-one in the specific regions, as well as do quarterly meetings, which we'll talk about a little bit further. In addition, many of you have reached out to me wanting to know when we're going to have another conference. We will have a Zoom conference this year, and then we are planning to meet in person in 2023. And right now we're looking at Roanoke as our destination. So more on that. We really have stepped up the training. We started this pre-COVID, and this has become our major focus as an organization in putting together trainings and webinars for our membership. We continue to do our market manager certification course, which is the brain baby of Meredith Ledley Johnson. And she started this 5 years ago, unbelievably. And we have the largest class that we've had. We've continued to grow in size. And I will say we probably have almost half of our class this year are people from out of state or other states that are participating. And it's with COVID, the class really evolved into a internet type based program where folks really are looking for alternative ways to receive education. It can be participating on Fridays as a part of a group interaction, but it also can be participating out, on a weekend when they have the ability to be able to log in and do online learning. And so we are evolving that, and you will see coming up as part of our FMPP grant that we've received, you will be seeing a MMC2, which we hope to launch in 2023. This will be a class for folks that have already graduated from the Market Manager Certification Program, the first one, and it will be new topics as well as updated topics and expanding of issues. We have added a couple of new topics this year. We are doing racial equity and racial discrimination at the farmers market. We started that last year with racial justice conversations, and we also added this year, and we added last year, online sales platforms. We're continuing with that, and we also added this year the what was the third one that we added?
Vendor recruitment.
Vendor recruitment and retention. That's right. Thank you so much. So the course topics are very exciting, and what we're looking to do in addition to the MMC program is to be able to build additional topics that we can expand out to our membership as a whole. So you'll see more on that. Next slide, please. So one of the continuing our commitment to work with your producers and your vendors, we have again partnered with Virginia State University College of Agriculture and Small Farm Education Outreach Program, working with Dr. Michael Carter. And we are going to be holding 3 trainings, webinars, specifically on farmers market preparedness for vendors. This is free to your vendors, and I highly encourage them to participate. As always, they can sign up, and if they can't participate in person, we will have the recording available. However, I encourage them to try and participate in person because it's much more interactive and you can ask questions. These are going to be in April. The first is on social media marketing using short video clips to connect with customers. And this is actually being done by an organization called the Social Ginger, Shannon Loy. We're very excited to have her coming in and teaching this to our vendors. The second session is market day prep for farmers market success. So everything from, you want to incubate a business at a farmers market, here's what you need to know, and here's what needs to go in your go bag, and here's all of the different things that this is a free vendor training, yes. And so, and this is anything that you need to know in order to prepare for your farmers market success. And then the last will be food safety for farmers market vendors. And this will be presented by and we greatly appreciate the continued support of VDAX and VDH and the extension for providing the trainings for food safety. Next slide, please. So you've been hearing me talk about this for a couple of years now. We were, timing is everything, right? So we were very excited to receive approval to participate in the Virginia Love campaign, which is the Virginia's for Lovers. And we were given the designation of Virginia's for Farmers Market Lovers. This happened right before COVID hit. And as part of this, we also were the recipient of a tourism grant from the state of Virginia Department of Tourism. Very cool, very excited. And we were to start working on the grant in 2020. In 2020, when COVID hit, we were not doing anything to actively bring tourists into Virginia. So we did put this on hold. We received an extension from the state, and we now are moving forward to put the Virginia's for Farmers Market Lovers campaign into action. We will be up and live by the summer. We hope to be up and live by May. We will, this is everything from the trail to all of the peripherals that go with it. Can you, next slide, please? So what our Virginia's for Lovers trail and campaign encompasses is a couple of different things. Number one, each of the markets, if you are on our map, then each of your markets will be listed on our trail. And I'll tell you what that means. In order to get on this map, and this is a map that we are constantly updating, but in order to do this, all you have to do is sign in on our website. If you already used FarmSpread as a product, you just update it through FarmSpread. If you don't, then you go ahead and you register your market with all of your information on our website. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, that's a little bit of register.
Well, explain exactly what they did. Okay, the link is on our website though, right?
Yes, but you don't need to log into VAFMA. I know that it's a little confusing for folks because you used to log in through VAFMA, but now because this is going to go live on so many different websites, you go through FarmSpread.
So Mary will, as a follow-up to this meeting, send out the details on exactly what you need to do in order to make sure that your information is captured. We are working hand in hand with tourism and agriculture in order to verify markets that have registered on these different platforms. But there also are markets out there that we just haven't captured. We have, by the graciousness of our FMPP grant, been able to have retained a part-time administrative coordinator to actually go through and verify markets for us. And she's scouring through social media to find farmers markets in Virginia that either we've missed, tourism has missed, or VDAX has missed. Regardless, Mary will shoot out the information on how you sign up. Sign up, it's free. What it gets you is this. We are launching a trail website. People aren't going to come into Virginia from New York and look at VAFMA's website in order to find a trail. They don't know who VAFMA is. But what they're going to do is they're going to stop at the Welcome Center coming into Virginia. There are 13 Welcome Centers, and every one of these Welcome Centers is going to be our map. And we're also going to have a printed version of a card that is a little trail map that will have information on it and a QR code that can be scanned. And that can be picked up at all the Welcome Centers as well as at some of the farmers markets. So if you are registered here, you will go ahead and be on these maps that are in the Welcome Centers. In addition, we will have road signs strategically placed throughout the state of Virginia that will point people into 5 pilot areas that we are launching agritourism excursions as part of this trail, where folks can not only go to the farmers market, but they then can buy the strawberries at the market, then go to the pick your own, and then potentially go to the winery or wherever else, retail is using these products. So we're very excited to be launching this. Our pilot markets the pilot areas where we're doing these agritourism excursions are in Goochland, in Williamsburg, in Charlottesville, in Independence, and in, which area did I forget? Independence, Charlottesville.
Nova.
No, Northern Virginia. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I am very excited about this. And the last thing was I did execute the MOU with Waze as part of this. And so if your market is signed up on here, if you on the map and it's current, it will pop up on Waze. Now we have gone ahead and we've retained folks on the technology side, and I'm not going to get into that because it won't be, that's just not my thing, but we've retained folks on the technology side that will, and we're working with Department of Tourism that every time this is updated here, it will update on tourism site. I talked with folks over at VDAX yesterday. They're launching a new market site also, and this will be connected in once theirs is up and once this is all up and active and they've worked the glitches out of their system, we'll be able to connect in there. So hopefully our dream will be that moving forward, you'll just have to update stuff one place and then it'll automatically update everywhere else. But anyway, so this is very exciting for us. The entire purpose of this grant from the Department of Tourism is to bring tourists that already love farmers markets, that shop at farmers markets in New York or in DC or in Pennsylvania. And when they're coming down to Virginia for a football game or to go to the beach or to go hiking or whatever reason is bringing them to Virginia, that they will shop at our market. So we're really excited about it. And I hope that you will participate. It is free to you to participate. All you have to do is sign up. If you don't sign up, you're not going to be on it. So sign up. Next slide, please. Thank you. As part of this, and so I guess the good news, bad news is that with COVID, prior to COVID, we had done this data metrics pilot project where we had gathered data from 7 markets in the Richmond area, looking at all of the different qualitative and quantitative components that provide good hard evidence as to the viability and value of farmers markets. And when COVID hit, one of the biggest issues that we encountered was a lack of understanding from some folks on a state level of maybe the value that farmers markets provide, why it's so important and integral to farming and to agriculture and to the community to have farmers markets being able to sell to the community. We were able to overcome that, and we were able to obviously continue to sell and to put food out into the community and to be able to support our farmers. And what you guys did, I cannot say it enough, and I will continue to say it. Thank you so much. You were so flexible and so gracious and so amazing in being able to get food to the community. I'm afraid we're probably seeing that again coming down the pike with all of the sanctions that are happening in the world. And with the increase in gas, we're going to start to see it impact our food supply, and we're going to need to step up again. But what we need is good qualitative data in order to be able to continue to present the story and the value of farmers markets. So we're not continuing to do the formal FMC program, but we are continuing to collect data. So for those of you, and I know a lot of you markets do collect this information, especially since you went online, you've got that data as part of your online sales system. If you could give that to us, we want it aggregated. I don't want to know specifics on what ABC producer did. We want this type of information so that we can show quantitatively and we can just show numerically what farmers markets value is here in the state of Virginia to anybody that questions why do farmers markets need to be open. And so please send us your data. Next slide, please. So I think that everybody in this meeting knows how to get a hold of me. And I thank you for your continued reaching out to me. But if not, here is this information. At any time, please reach out. We are an advocate for you, and we are your voice here in the community. And we will continue to focus on the issues that matter to you. We will have a quick update from Pam Miles as she's doing her presentation on some of the legislative stuff that has happened in agriculture and as it will impact you. But I will say there are other issues that are brewing around the state that specifically impact farmers markets. And we're seeing some issues up in the Northern Virginia area, where it looks like we're probably going to have to get involved with the Board of Supervisors, et cetera. So you guys, as market managers and your vendors, need to come to us and let us know what these issues are so that we can help to mitigate them for you. So any questions or any thoughts, please let me know. Hold on, I have to cough. Do you have any questions at this time? Sorry, do you have any questions for me that I can answer? 6 minutes overtime, excellent. I did a good job. Any questions for me?
Doing great.
Thanks.
There's some questions about plastic bags in the chat. I believe Michelle is looking for feedback on what other markets are doing regarding reusable bags and plastic bags. So if anybody has some ideas, some things that are working for them, please add them to the chat.
And I think that's a great question to bring to the breakout groups too, and we can pull that together and add that as a follow-up, as a when we recant what comes out of the breakout meeting. Any other questions for me specifically?
Kim, this is Margaret. I have one quick question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Just on the things I'm not putting my video on just because my Facebook thing, my thing is so old. But are you also asking us to track things like SNAP and those types of uses? Because and I know you'll approach this later in the conversation, but we're continuing to have trouble getting SNAP implemented at our farmers market in Old Town North. So any help that folk can give me on that, I would be so grateful.
Well, great timing because you've got the people that can help you on this call. So they will certainly circle back with you. They will certainly circle back with you afterwards in order to help you get up and running and get you with the people that you need to get up and running. But regarding the data that we need, yes, I know as SNAP markets are already required to report their data. And and so we're not going to double request that. We get that information from SNAP working in partnership with them. But it's so critical that we show food insecurity. One of the main issues in the conversation that I had with Governor Northam and keeping us open and being deemed essential is that so many of our farmers markets are in food deserts. And it would dramatically impact those that are food insecure that are already underserved and underrepresented. And using Uber Eats is not a solution to accessing food in time of a crisis. So yes, thank you for wanting to use SNAP. And well, I'm sure these folks will help you get you functioning. Any other questions for me? Thank y'all. I appreciate the time. I'm gonna be quiet now.
Awesome. Thanks, Kim. As Kim said, if you guys have any questions or any issues or anything like that you think that she can help out with, feel free to reach out to her. I've had conversations with Kim at 11 o'clock at night. Don't call her at 11 o'clock at night. I'm not encouraging you to do that, but she's really good about getting back to you pretty quickly. Quickly moving on, we have Pam Miles from VDAX with us with an update on food safety, just kind of a reminder and whatever else she gets into, and also the hemp program. I'm excited to see this. So Pam, if you are ready to rock, let's go ahead and do it.
Thank you for having me. And I want to say, I talk to Kim all the time walking my dog. I think we talk quite often when I was walking my dog, answering questions. But anyway, she'll answer anytime. We talk a lot. But anyway, good afternoon, everyone. And as he said, I'm Pam Miles with VDAX, and I manage the food safety program. And just want to let you know, under VDAX, under our jurisdiction, are the food manufacturers in the state, which include the home ops and commercial kitchens that we'll talk about today, food warehouses, and retail food stores, which includes the farmers markets. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, I'm going to touch on the requirements for the vendors selling products at the farmers markets under VDAX jurisdiction, and Carol with VDH is going to touch today on Virginia Department of Health's requirements. Next slide. So if vendors want to sell food products at the farmers market, they must be under our inspection unless they meet the home kitchen exemption, which I'm going to go over. I always like to remind everyone of the exemptions each year, but I'll go over that in a minute. So as I mentioned, our department inspects all the homes and the community kitchens, and Virginia Department of Health permits restaurants and the temporary events that are at the farmers markets. Next slide, please. So we have a resource here, and I know they'll show the slides with all of you. But here's a link, and the link will, for all home and commercial kitchen-based food businesses, this link takes you to our applications, links to our laws and regulations. We also have how-to documents on how to fill out applications. So everyone that wants to start a home op or make their foods in a commercial kitchen to sell at the market, they need to fill out these applications and submit them to our program. As I mentioned, we have a how-to guide on how to do that. So this link is a great resource and has our applications. So the application process, once it's filled out, you want to submit that. And here is our web address to food safety at vdax.virginia.gov. And if you don't have access to a computer, if anyone doesn't, you can call our office. We'll send you an application, and you can also submit them by mail. And so your packet, or the vendor's packets, when they're completing the application process, needs to include their business information, and they have to have zoning approval before we'll approve the home operations. They also need to give us the food processing and storage area diagram, what products they want to make in the home, and where they plan on distributing them. Also ingredient list, ingredient source, and recipes. And when we talk about recipes, we're not trying to get your recipe, but we're looking at the products that they're made with a safe food process. And also labels. We encourage them to submit labels. We don't want you to print labels that are not correct, so we can actually help you with that before they're printed. So after the application review is complete by our regional managers and technical specialists, a food safety specialist will contact you to set up your pre-operational inspection at your home. And approval to sell these products is granted following the satisfactory completion of the inspection. Next slide, please. So I want to touch on the home kitchen exemptions now. So the home kitchen exemption, foods that's allowed to be made in the home and not inspected only apply to certain foods. And right here's a link on our website that goes to more examples. So next slide, please. So low-risk foods can be made in the home kitchen. And I'm not going to read all this list to you, but these are in our Virginia food laws. They are listed out. These low-risk foods can be made in the home and not be under our inspection to be sold at the market. So in addition, there are some home canned foods that can be made without inspection, and they're only pickles or acidified vegetables. They have to have a pH of 4.6 or lower, and they've got to have a pH meter where they're monitoring that to make sure they are 4.6 or lower, and it's very important. The total gross annual sales that's in our Virginia food law for the exemption must not exceed $3,000 for all the acidified products that are produced that year in the home. And they have to comply with our Code of Federal Regulations that we adopted 114 to make sure they're making a safe product. But again, they can be made without inspection in the home. The category does not include canned fermented foods, canned foods that require refrigeration, canned acid foods, canned fruits, or low acid canned foods such as green beans with a pH greater than 4.6. Again, this only applies to like pickles and acidified vegetables. Next slide, please. So for a home kitchen exemption, when I'm talking about the low risk foods that I mentioned and those acidified pickles and vegetables, to also be exempt, the products have to be made in your home, and they have to be sold directly to the end consumer, either at your home or at a farmer's market. So it has to be either physically at the market or at the home. That's the only way this exemption applies. And you cannot sell to other businesses for resale. So you cannot be selling these exempt foods to the restaurants to sell or to grocery stores. They have to be sold again from the home and at the market. And they can't be offered for sale over the internet or across state lines to be exempt. And I want to touch for a minute on the internet sales. We did allow some of that during COVID, but that was just during that time where we're trying to get the products sold at the market where they were advertised, so folks would know what to come pick up at the market. But that's no longer, you're no longer allowed to do that. That was just a temporary thing to help us through COVID and to help the markets during COVID. So you're not allowed to offer that for sale over the internet to have this exemption to not be inspected. And every product, so when you pick up this product, when customers pick up the product from the home or at the market, on the primary display panel, there has to be a label that has the name of the product, the name and physical address and telephone number of the business, the date of the food production that it was made, and a statement that says not for resale, processed and prepared without state inspection. And then you need to follow the standard food labeling information still required. Next slide, please. So I want to touch on honey. The honey kitchen exemption is a little bit different. So it includes only pure honey. So you can't be adding herbs and different things to the honey. It's only pure honey, and it can be exempt from inspection. And the sales are limited to 250 gallons of honey a year. And each of these products on the label has to have processed and prepared without state inspection, warning, do not feed honey to infants under 1 year of age, and also standard food labeling information still required. But the difference with the honey is this can be sold in stores. So with the exemption, they're still allowed to sell it in the retail food establishments or grocery stores that we inspect, and they can be sold wholesale. So that was the one difference with the honey than the other foods for the exemptions. So if you see folks, if you have vendors at your market, you want to make sure that these folks are under inspection. And I'm going to get into permits in a little bit, but our firms have what we call a certificate of inspection. You can ask for that. You can ask for their inspection report, but you want to ensure firms are under inspection. If not, they need to be one of these products that have the exemption. If someone's selling green beans and say they're exempt from inspection, that's not the case. So you need to make sure that they fall under these categories. And you want to make sure they're labeled as stated in the previous slides. So what rules apply? So whether you're inspected by VDEX or if you're exempt from us, they still need to follow the laws and regulations. So we have our Virginia food laws, and on the link that I gave you earlier, all of those are linked on our webpage. And 21 CFR Code of Federal Regulations 117, good manufacturing practices, 101 food labeling, and we have other regulations if people are selling seafood, acidified food, juice, dietary supplements, etc. Next slide, please. Oh, just a moment. No, my slides aren't advancing. 1 second, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. I always get questions about eggs. With our Virginia egg law, you can sell up to 150 dozen eggs per week of your own eggs, or up to 60 dozen eggs a week of another producer's eggs, and you don't have to be under our inspection, VDAX inspection. So the eggs at the market that are sold there need to be clean, unbroken, and free of dirt and manure. And you need to keep them cold, 45 degrees or below. This says refrigerated, but you need to have coolers, ice. You need to keep those eggs cold while they're at the market. They need to be 45 degrees or below. And the cartons need to have the name and address of the producer or the packer, and the word eggs on the label, and safe handling instructions, which you see below at the bottom of the slide. And it can say ungraded on those eggs or have an appropriate grade. And if they say fresh, those can only be used on eggs that are graded. And I have a link here for if the producer wants to grade their own eggs. This is a useful link for them on how to grade their own eggs. Next slide, please. So I'm going to touch on the industrial hemp law. So for industrial hemp, in the Virginia industrial hemp law only allows for the possession of industrial hemp plant or plant material by persons registered pursuant to our law. So we have, and it is in another office and not in the food office, but we have an industrial hemp program that's headed up by Erin Williams. I don't know if any of you have met her. She's a great resource. If you wanted to possess it, to manufacture the product, or be a grower, you have to have a registration with our department. And here is the link for that, for you to possess that at your home. So what is industrial hemp? It's any part of the plant that's cannabis sativa, whether growing or not, and it has a concentration level, THC level, that's no greater than 0.3%. So we get a lot of questions about hemp flowers, leaves, microgreens. If you're selling these at the market to an individual who's not registered as a hemp grower, dealer, or processor, this is not permissible under the law, and it's ultimately a question for law enforcement. And I will say has recently been some changes, and I don't know if that's been changed. I don't think so. But I can get you some updates. I need to talk to Erin. There were some new things that happened this year in the General Assembly, but as far as I know, that hasn't changed. If it has, I will get with Kim and she will let you know. Next slide, please. So in our Virginia food law, they actually added, they actually added to our food law where hemp extract is actually considered, industrial hemp extract is considered an approved source. With the FDA and nationally right now, and not in all the states, is it considered an approved ingredient or an approved product. But in our food law, they did add that industrial hemp extract in Virginia is considered an approved ingredient, an approved food. So we inspect processors of industrial hemp-derived extracts intended for human consumption. And on our website, we have an application for that, and also how-to document on how to fill out that application. But we currently have industrial hemp processors under our inspection in the state of Virginia. And industrial hemp extract, it can be sold as a standalone product, a CBD oil, and it's also allowed to be added to manufactured foods under our inspection. So if someone's, let's say they're making cookies, coffee, and they add CBD to it, they can do that. They need to state on their home or commercial kitchen application, sorry, I didn't tell you to move on. They need to state on their application that they are adding that as an ingredient, and you have to provide documentation that that hemp extract was from an approved source. There are some states that are not approving it, and you want to make sure that that industrial hemp extract from one of the approved people in Virginia or producers in Virginia, or if it's from another state, they have to be under some state regulatory inspection. A lot of folks think if they get that registration with our department to possess the material, they think that that means they're good to go to sell. But no, if you're making a hemp extract, you need to be under our inspection or under another state. And if it's added to a food, it has to be an inspected ingredient. So industrial hemp-derived extract may not be added to foods inspected by VDH. And Carol, if there's an update on that, she'll give us. But last I have been informed that they're not allowed to be foods inspected or added in restaurants. Currently not allowed to be added to alcohol products or to animal feed. So animal feed, pet treats, they're not supposed to be adding it to that. And now one thing that isn't recognized with the Food and Drug Administration is generally recognized as safe, that you can add, because it is an approved food ingredient nationally, is whole hemp seed oil, and hemp seed protein. Next slide, please. So, okay, and I'm going to move on. I know if we have questions coming on, I can answer those at the end. But I just want to touch real fast on food samples. So food samples is under VDEC's jurisdiction. So as the market vendors, you want to make sure your managers, you want to make sure that the vendors are providing safe food samples. So you want to make sure they're using clean surfaces and utensils, they have good personal hygiene, and the proper storage for the prepared samples that they're bringing to the market. And we actually encourage the vendors to do much prep as they can at their inspected facility or their home, where they have access to hand washing and utensil washing. And you want to encourage them to work on a clean surface, again, with clean utensils, and make sure to wear gloves on clean hands when they're handling these ready-to-eat foods. And you want them to wash fruits and vegetables in clean water prior to cutting, and once washed, store them so they do not become soiled. Next slide, please. So you also want to make sure barriers are used. We do not want the vendors or even the customers coming up and grabbing the food. So you want them to, so there's no cross-contamination, but have tongs or spoons, single-use deli paper, plastic cups, toothpicks, disposable gloves, for example. And bring extra with it. Have the vendors bring extra so they don't run out. And gloves must be placed on clean hands and changed often. And they're not the substitute for proper hand washing. And it's very important that they keep the equipment clean. So if they're cutting product at the market or preparing any samples, they want to have 3 containers, one that they're washing in with clean water, one that they're rinsing in, and one where they sanitize. And they can use bleach, and they want to have, you can get test strips, which is 50 parts per million to sanitize these products. And again, they want to set up a washing station with 3 small plastic tubs. Next slide, please. And also limitation on exposure time. We want the samples placed on ice, or if the samples are meant to be heated, then they need to be kept hot above 135 degrees. But if they're not able to do this, you want to limit your exposure time. The samples, like I said, require refrigeration, but you don't want them outside for 4 hours or more. So after 4 hours is up, I would discard any of those uneaten food samples. And keep extra samples cold in the cooler with ice packs. And again, you want to protect the samples from the environment. You want to protect them from, like I said, people's hands coming and touching them or touching other ones and other samples. And just have the samples displayed under a dome or plastic wrap. You just want to protect those from the environment. Next slide, please. Oops, sorry. Okay, and the next thing I want to update you on is we have a General Assembly update. And this year we had a bill introduced that's going to be adding permitting to our food and drink law. So it actually passed the House and Senate, so that Commissioner in our program now, we are able to issue a permit to any food manufacturer, food storage warehouse, or retail food establishment in the state of Virginia. And what this means to all of you is any of the vendors coming or the home ops that are the ones that are under inspection will have a permit from us, as well as the farmers markets would have a permit. Just as a whole, we're not permitting each vendor there. The vendors that come would just get the permit when we inspect them at the home. We're not trying to double permit. There is not a new fee with this. Our markets already charged a $40 fee, and as well as the home vendors have a $40 fee from us. The effective date for the permit is July 1st for most of the state. There are localities that have adopted a local food inspection or permitting ordinance prior to January 1st, 2022. That was put into the law. And the effective date for those areas of the state will be January 1st, 2023. So anyway, I kind of ran through all of that fast, but just want to see if you have any questions.
Pam, we do have some questions.
Okay.
Can you quickly outline for us the businesses that VDEX oversees versus Department of Health where farmers market's concerned? I know you mentioned it. Can you highlight it again?
Yes, and I know Carol is going up next. Excuse me, losing my voice. And Carol will touch on it too. But at the market, so all of the vendors that are there, we inspect the vendors at their homes. So you have a lot of folks there that we do have under inspection, either from their home or commercial kitchens, those are under our jurisdiction. So the temporary food events would be the one under Department of Health. So if you have folks there cooking, making hamburgers, hot dogs, cooking on site, that's going to fall under Virginia Department of Health as a temporary food establishment. And like I said, Carol will go into that in more detail.
Okay. Are flavored oils okay unless they have garlic in them?
And I'm not sure, are you talking about exempt?
Let me see,
Exempt.
where are we in that presentation?
Yeah.
Well, all right. So yes, and is
So-
vinegar an exemption?
Yes,
Okay.
but not
Vinegar
not a flavored oil.
but not the flavored oil. Okay.
No, we'd have to,
So if it's not on the list, it's not exempt. All right.
it is not.
Let me see. A lot of conversation about bags. Excellent. Can we get a list of approved products of each vendors? Who would we ask?
Okay, so the the market managers are wanting to find what products were approved for their vendors to sell.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we don't have an easy list, but I mean, if you want to just send that to me, or to the food safety mailbox, but you can send it to me. I will get
Okay.
those answers for you. So if you would let us know what vendors you're asking about, we can
Okay.
look and let you know.
Okay. We have a market that's asking, what is the liability issue for a vendor that isn't following food safety rules?
Can you speak to that, Kim?
Yeah.
It's not my area.
Yeah. Let me come back to that. Okay. I'll add that to my list and we'll come back to it after we have the presenters. Can you address Delta 8? It's legal for sale in stores. No one has asked us about selling at the market, but we want to know what the right answer is if somebody does. I don't even know what that is. I'm so out of it.
There is a Delta 8 synthetic products that's being produced from the industrial hemp, and it actually is like actually consuming marijuana. It has those effects, but we currently do not allow that to be under inspection. We don't allow that as an ingredient. I do know that it's been discussed in the General Assembly. Again, that's one area that I have not heard how the outcome was, but I did hear what I think was going to be passed, that it's considered, would it actually be where it's illegal to sell that. Now, how that's panning out, was that going to be under us? It's not an approved ingredient. Is that going to be in law enforcement? I know they were talking about that might be that it's just illegal and you can't sell it. I know it's everywhere. I've seen it. We get frustrated with the same thing. We've actually had instances where people have called and said they had a reaction. One lady said she went to the emergency room after buying some gummies from a farmer's market in the state, and she had it almost like she was hallucinating and had an effect from it. So again, we've been asking, what can we do? Do we pull it from the market? But we were waiting again for the General Assembly, and I'll give you an update because I do need to get a Delta 8 update. But I will say right now with us, we do not allow Delta 8 put in any products that's under our inspection. We do not allow that. And again, I know it's out there. Yeah.
I appreciate it. As you well know, because I talked to you about this, 25% of our conversations are about what is allowed and what isn't regarding these issues. Is a food and drink permit required for a farmer's market as an entity?
We're going to require the farmers market themselves to have a permit, and but we're not going to go in and say every vendor in addition to us permitting them in their home. We're not going to do that, just the overall market.
Okay. Baked goods, do they need to be weighed?
And that's weights and measures. So I don't even want to, we might need to get a weights and measures person, Kim. If you ask if you can get the question to Kim, I'll get an answer for you, which is specific answer.
All right, I will. All right, Kim, weights and measures.
Specific question.
I got you. I understood. I wrote it down. Let's see. A joint list held by VDAX in partnership with VAFMA of approved vendors would make the life of market managers much easier. Yes. I think that's it. Did I miss any questions in going through this for Pam?
So did you mention that they'd like to have a list of approved home ops? Because we could get
they would like to have a list of approved vendors.
Okay, I can do home operations. I mean, we have
a
list of, or all of the manufacturers in the state, but you would have on there Nabisco, and it's either all manufacturers, but I can pull out home operations and commercial kitchens.
That would be good.
Okay.
And then let's see. And we're getting a lot of questions about the permit. So how do we go about getting the food and drink permit? I know it's just gotten approved yesterday, but
yeah, this just happened.
yeah.
So it's hot off the presses. July 1st, it goes into effect. So, and then we will be getting them out to everyone that's under our inspection. We will be doing that. Or when I say under inspection, under our jurisdiction and who we have in our database.
Okay. And it looks like do we have Sharon with her hand up? Sharon, did you have a question for Pam?
I think her hand has been up from the beginning.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Let's see. And let me see if there's any other questions for you before we let you go. Just to clarify, the exemptions do not apply to online farmers markets, online only farmers markets, correct?
Correct. That's
okay. Just the markets that are in person. And how do we find out if we're in VDAC's database?
You can send that to me. And here's my email address. It's up on the screen, and I will get back with you.
Okay. And then one more about the permit. Do they need to have it this year since it goes into effect this year?
July 1st. I mean, we're going to be rolling it out, so don't worry about that. I mean, we're going to be rolling it out, and I know you're starting the market season before then.
Yeah.
We'll get them, but it's not, don't be concerned. You'll be fine. So we get it to you.
Everybody hears the word permit and they start freaking out. So I'll work closely with you, Pam, to make sure we get all the information out in a timely fashion.
Right.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
What about vinegar? Vinegar is exempt.
Yeah.
It can be made without inspection. And I want to add Kim real fast for all of you. Kim has worked very closely. We work closely together. I appreciate, Kim, that you're always trying to make sure everybody is complying with the laws and regulations and care about food safety at the market. So any questions you do have, please send them. And Kim, I'm sending them to you. I don't know if that's where you want them to go.
Please.
but please get with Kim, because she is, always contacting me or emailing me and asking me. We do want to get the answers to you. And we appreciate all of the markets, making sure that the food is safe, that's at the markets. So, and I enjoy visiting on the markets too. So
thank you. We're going to drag you with us as we go around doing our FMPP this year, visiting all the markets. Thank you, Pam. Ricky, back over to you.
Super. Thank you, Pam. Kim, it sounds like maybe we need to coordinate a big VDAX conference or something. Get everybody at one table or something. All right. So we're running a little bit behind, so we're just going to push right along. Next up, we have Carol Puckett from Virginia Department of Health with, as Pam said, some VDH updates and all that kind of stuff. Carol, if you are ready to go, looks like sweet. Let's do it.
I am. Can y'all hear me? Everybody hears me? Okay. I apologize that I'm not on camera, but I have low bandwidth right now. So I'm just going to proceed ahead just to make sure that you can see the presentation. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Is it in presenter mode?
No.
I know something's going on here. Hold on just a second. It's because it's so slow picking things up, but I got it earlier. There. Okay, now I think I see it now. Full screen?
Yes, but you need to move the presentation again because it's only showing in the bottom right-hand corner of the slide.
I need to move what?
The presentation is only showing in the bottom right-hand corner of the slide.
Oh,
it's large.
It's not sized properly or something. Like the same thing happened last time.
There you go.
There. Oh, that must be my bandwidth because I didn't do anything different. So, but anyway, we'll move on.
Okay.
So, thank you all for having me today, and good afternoon to everybody. I'm Carol Puckett. I'm with the Virginia Department of Health after retiring with them after 33 years, and now I'm working as a food consultant with them. So I'm glad to be here today. And I thank you for inviting me to talk with you about the Virginia Department of Health role at farmers markets, Keep in mind that the information I'm providing is from the state perspective. I cannot speak to specific local ordinance requirements, but I'm happy to assist by directing you to that local health department staff who will work with you in their jurisdictions. In practice, there's been no significant change from last year. However, I'm going to start by providing an overview of the new Virginia Department of Health Memorandum of Understanding between the Department of Health and the Virginia Department of Agriculture. The purpose of the MOU is to clarify VDH permit inspection procedures for food vendors operating at farmers markets, to promote the highest level of public health and safety protection, and to ensure that efficient use of state use resources. By clarifying the role of VDH at the farmers market, we will avoid duplication of Virginia Department of Health and Virginia Department of Agriculture duties that is not only burdensome to farmers and VDAX inspected food manufacturers, but also an ineffective use of our agency resources. This MOU specifies that vendors offering certain products at farmers markets that are regulated by VDAX or another entity, or that are not exempt from regulation by VDH or VDAX, are not required to obtain a food establishment permit from the Department of Health when operating at a farmer's market. The MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding, does not nullify the Department of Health's authority to inspect and or permit any food facility otherwise subject to regulation. The inspection authority of Department of Agriculture and Department of Health may overlap with respect to food products offered at a farmer's market. In general, Department of Agriculture is responsible for inspecting all establishments which manufacture, sell, expose, or offer food and drink products for sale. Department of Health is responsible for inspecting any place where food is served to the public, whether on or off premises, and in any place where food is prepared. Under this Memorandum of Understanding, vendors who offer products subject to Department of Agriculture inspection, or products subject to other agency inspection authority, or products that are exempted from either Department of Agriculture or the VDH inspection, will not be permitted and inspected by Department of Health when operating at a farmer's market. There is a procedural agreement which provides specific examples that is attached to the Memorandum of Understanding if you have any difficulty with figuring out who has regulatory authority. Under the procedural agreement, farmers market vendors are not regulated by Department of Health include: 1, vendors offering food products using a method or facility already inspected and approved by Department of Agriculture under the Code of Virginia 3.2-5100. This includes vendors selling packaged food or providing samples of food products produced in home processing facilities and commercial kitchens, such as baked goods, acidified food, nuts, candies, vinegars, jams, and jellies, what Pam previously went over. We also do not regulate vendors offering packaged food products or samples of those foods, including meat, poultry, milk, juice, game animals, eggs, acidified foods, nuts, seeds, fruits, jams, jellies, or processed vegetables that are produced at a manufacturing plant subject to inspection by another agency, including USDA. And then finally, we are not going to regulate vendors who offer products exempt from VDAX inspection under the Code of Virginia 3.2-5130A35, which includes foods prepared in a private home where the resident processes and prepares such items as candies, jams, jellies, not considered to be low acid or acidified low acid products. And there's a whole list of those items here for y'all to look at. Pam Miles covered the exemptions that are under the Department of Agriculture in her presentation, but here is a list of those particular products again. Additionally, there are some farm products exempt from the Department of Health inspection under the Code of Virginia 35-1-14. Vendors offering their own farm-produced products directly to consumers for their personal use, including farmers providing sliced fruit and vegetables, cooked fruits and vegetables, cooked and prepared meat, poultry, eggs, fish, or game animals. These would be exempt for any VDH inspection or permitting process. Under this memorandum of understanding, however, vendors who offer food to the public and conduct operations beyond what is specified in the procedural agreement of that memorandum of understanding are then subject to Virginia Department of Health regulation and must obtain a VDH food establishment permit to operate at the farmers market. Typically, vendors at farmers markets will need either a mobile food unit or a temporary food establishment permit. Let me briefly explain these types of food establishments. First of all, we have a mobile food unit. It is a food establishment mounted on wheels that's readily movable from place to place at all times during operation. This includes push carts, trailers, trucks, or vans. The unit, all operations, and all equipment must be integral to and within or attached to the unit itself. The mobile food unit, or MFU, as we call it, permit is established by the local health department that permits the commissary for the mobile unit, or if a commissary isn't needed because all operations are conducted on board the unit, the permit is issued by the local health department in which that operator resides. A mobile unit from another state also needs a Virginia permit. The permit is typically good for 1 year and has to be renewed annually. Inspections of these MFUs or mobile food units are conducted based on risk category. The category risk is determined by the food safety risk associated with the types of food processes that the operator uses to prepare the food. Compliance history is also considered. The mobile food unit permit is a sticker that is affixed to the unit near the customer service area. The expiration date is blacked out, and the operator owner name, address, local health department, and risk rating is provided on that particular sticker, as you can see here. Some local health departments have local ordinance that require local permits for mobile units. So in addition to contacting Department of Health, you might want to check with your locality to ensure that they do not have any additional requirements. Then we have the temporary food establishment itself. Of course, this is not mobile. It's usually a fixed location. And it's defined as a food establishment that operates for a period of no more than 14 consecutive days in conjunction with a single event or celebration. Temporary food establishments must conduct all food preparation on the unit itself within the actual temporary food establishment. Applications for a temporary food establishment, or we shorten that to be called a TFE permit, must be submitted at least 10 days prior to the event. The permits may be issued for multiple occurrences of an event for up to 1 year, and the permit must be posted where it's visible to the public. Food establishments with a valid permit can operate as a temporary food establishment without any kind of additional Virginia Department of Health permit. A food establishment, typically a restaurant that operates as a TFE, does not need to notify the local health department and may be required to submit plans for review and approval if food operations at the TFE differ from operations at the permanent food establishment. So basically, a restaurant does not need an additional permit or pay additional fees, but if they do operate in some way different from what they typically would do in their regular facility, then they need to notify the local health department. Operational requirements for all food establishment permitted at the Virginia Department of Health are based on the CDC risk factors for foodborne illness. No one goes to work thinking that food they serve that day may make somebody sick, but we know that too many preventable foodborne illnesses still occur. When the food establishments have adequate controls in place over these 5 risk factors, the risk of causing foodborne illness is greatly reduced. Reviewing proposed operations with the establishment operator is part of our application and plan review process that the local health department conducts with the operator prior to the event. This quick overview will serve as a reminder of those risks. And if you have any questions or want more details, I'm happy to answer any questions at the end of the group presentation, or you can reach out to me or your local health department by phone or email. The operational requirements that local health departments will assess include the source of the food, employee health and personal hygiene, cooking for time and temperature safety for raw animal foods, any type of holding temperatures for TCS foods, and finally, operations will be assessed to assure surfaces and wares are cleaned and sanitized, and that the operations are conducted in a manner that prevents cross-contamination from raw animal foods. Of course, general sanitation requirements are also addressed when they present a food safety hazard. You can obtain more information regarding specific food safety practices in last year's manager's video, or an updated video version of that will be available after the upcoming Virginia Farm Market Association April 27th meeting for vendors. I will also be teaching that course to them, and it will expound upon this presentation with reference to the individual operational requirements. And then finally, let's talk about farmers markets working with the local health department. Local health districts would like to know when and where markets will operate. Since local health departments have local ordinances with requirements that are more stringent than state requirements, it is very helpful to local health departments if the market manager will provide a list of vendors and the permit status, i.e., are they a mobile food unit, are they a TFE, of the vendors to the local health department. Some districts provide an event coordinator form to facilitate this process. When local health departments know the vendors who plan to operate at your market, they can make better decisions about when they need to visit the market to permit and inspect the establishment. Although technically the food establishment offering food to the public needs to apply for a permit, we all know there may be some confusion about who needs a permit, and that working that out before the event is best for all involved. We highly recommend that farmers market managers work with the local health department to make sure vendors that need a permit have one before they are allowed to open and operate. Vendors should keep in mind that a change in their operation may change the permit requirement. And then here, how do you contact the appropriate Virginia Department of Health office? We have 5 regions with 34 health districts in Virginia. You may contact the appropriate office by going to the website here at the top, the HTTPS address there, and request assistance from the environmental health offices. You may also contact the 2 of us who work in the state Office of Environmental Health, and I've put the 2 of us here. I think that Perry probably did your presentation last year, and I'm doing it this year. Please understand, though, that we may refer you back to the local health department because most health districts regulate food establishments under the Virginia Department of Regulations, but some have local ordinances that specify more stringent requirements. We want to ensure you're provided with complete and accurate information. I thank you for having me here today. I know it's a lot of information that was presented fairly quickly, But between Pam and I'm sure we can get you on the right track. And I will make one additional point of, Pam had mentioned about not being allowed in restaurants. We are in the process of revising that opinion, and a job aid is in the process of being presented to all of our inspectors, and I will be able to get that information to y'all at a later date. I don't think it will directly affect any of you at the farmers market itself, other than if, for instance, you decide to operate a TFE or a mobile food unit, and those people would be coming to us anyway. So I think at this point, we will be able to manage getting that information to those people. So any questions?
Yes, Carol, thank you so much for the presentation. It was very encompassing as always. We do have a couple of questions. Of course, first of all, do you need a permit? Oh, wait, I lost the question. Do you need a permit from VDH for a mobile unit? Hold on. I'm sorry, I apologize. The changing screens changed. Do you need a permit from VDH for a mobile unit that is not cooking or preparing any food, i.e. the mobile farmers market selling produce?
Okay, if they're not preparing food, then I don't see why they would need a food establishment permit. But what I would recommend that they do is they touch base with their local health department, because there could be some local ordinance that required to do so. Like, I know that when I worked in Peninsula District, there was a local ordinance for any type of food sales had to get a special license from the locality that had nothing to do with the Virginia Department of Health, but we administered it there in that district. So my recommendation is to go to your local health district and ask them if there's any kind of local requirements.
Okay. Do I understand that temporary food establishments must prep all food at the farmers market?
Yes, it has to be some way for us to inspect the food as it's being prepared. So it either has to come from someplace that is VDH permitted, like a restaurant, and you just bring the food to the farmer's market and it already has a permit in that particular instance. Or in some instances, it could be food that is approved through the Virginia Department of Agriculture that we would allow if they are regulating it. Or on the outside, they would have to actually prepare the food there at the site itself so that we could actually observe the preparation itself.
Okay. What about a mobile vendor who only sells beverages like coffee, lemonade, etc.?
Okay, under the Virginia Department of Health, beverages are considered to be food, and so a permit would be necessary if there's any particular type of preparation. Now, if they're just selling like a packaged non-TCS food, like a canned drink or something, then we don't regulate that because they're exempt from the Virginia food regulations.
We had come up yesterday a vendor that is in Fairfax selling dry tea, packaged dry tea and dried herbs and elderberry syrup, and they're being told they need to get a temporary food permit in Fairfax. Is
Okay.
that's one of the local issues that you're talking about?
Yes, it would not, a non-TCS packaged food under the Virginia food regulations is not required by Virginia Department of Health. However, some localities are under the FDA food code as opposed to the Virginia food regulations, or they may have local ordinances that would require that. So they need to actually contact Fairfax local health district.
Do you have a list of the localities across Virginia that either fall under the FDA or fall under their local food ordinances versus under VDH, where the requirements may be stricter, that you could provide to us?
I do have that. I can do it right off the top of my head, but I know that Arlington, Fairfax, Norfolk, those localities have the Virginia, but I would prefer to give you a list later on so that I make sure I don't leave anybody.
Just send it to me. This is Kim Hutchinson. If you would just send it to me, I would appreciate it because this is starting to come up around the state. So,
And what is your email address? Is it just
it's Kim and a period.
okay?
And Hutchinson, HUTCHINSON
Okay.
at VAFMA, VAFMA.org.
Okay, that's cool.
We've been seeing this in Fairfax, and I'm sure it's going to come up other places where producers are being asked to get a temporary food permit, even though they're not selling what normally
But in the
falls under
long
that.
run, the easiest thing to do is work with your local health department, because they will know exactly, what regulations they're under and what the specific local ordinances are that apply in their localities.
Sure. Thank you, Carol. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to you doing the presentation on the 27th. Any last questions for either Carol or Pam? Oh, Sharon. Oh, we have two folks that have their hands up. Sharon, you have your hand up? You need to unmute. I don't know if you can. You've got a sleeping baby. Did
No,
you have
it's been up.
Is
It's
it
Margaret.
okay? And Margaret. All right, Margaret. Did you have a question? Also?
Yes, I think it ties into what we were just being told by our local health department. If we have vendors selling coffee by the cup at the market, would they need to get a special temporary food vendor permit?
If there's actual preparation and handling of the product, whether it's non-TS or TCS, it usually would require a permit. So I would talk to your local health department to ensure how they want to handle that. I know it's very low risk, and in some instances in the past, maybe people didn't really adhere to that requirement, but they are required within the Virginia food regulations to issue a permit to any kind of food that is not a non-packaged, non-TCS food.
If that same vendor is simply sampling small samples and not selling, do you know if they might still have to get a permit? I can also reach out to Rachel at Stradling at Alexandria Health Department.
With sampling, we typically don't do that. I will be honest with you and tell you that you may find it different depending on which local health department you are involved with. So I would definitely talk to the local health department for wherever the area is that you are planning to do that, because they may, again, that would require it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. I appreciate it. And
it's a lot of
no,
time.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I will say we're seeing in like Richmond also for folks that are selling like Thai coffee or lemonade or whatever, that they're being required to, their locale is requiring them to get them also. So seems to be the year where stuff's being cracked down on, even though it's been on the books for a while.
Well,
so
I will say that beverages, as far as I know, they've always been required to do that. But, because the fact that they're handling and a lot of those facilities weren't being maintained sanitarily like they should have been.
Right.
And I think the at large likes to see and know that either there's a license if it's a mobile food unit or a permit's been issued for a temporary food event.
Thank you
Even
so
if
much.
it's just Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions? No. Thank you. Ricky, back to you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Yeah, one of our vendors got nailed by our local BDH office for tea and coffee and stuff a couple of weeks ago, and it's been a whole thing. All right. So moving right along, the always wonderful Meredith Ledley Johnson is with us from VCE with SNAP updates, EBT equipment, deauthorization, all that kind of stuff.
Hi, wow, I'm gonna keep coming around. Thank you so much for having me. Welcome to spring 2022. I know we're all really excited to be back. So I am Meredith Ledley Johnson. I work with the Family Nutrition Program. If you're not sure what that is, we are a part of Virginia Cooperative Extension. We work statewide. So that means I have SNAP Ed funded agents covering most of the state. They all cover a certain number of counties and cities. And really the whole point of our work is to increase access to healthy foods in limited resources communities. So originally when I was hired 10 years ago, it was to increase the number of farmers markets that accept SNAP in Virginia. And then our work has just continued to grow after that. So I was asked to talk a little bit about SNAP. If you're not 100% sure what it is when we say that, that is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. You might have grown up calling it food stamps. The other words you might hear around SNAP at farmers markets is EBT. EBT is like the name of the card that you get when you receive SNAP. You get kind of like a debit card that is filled up once a month by the federal government with your SNAP benefits. So sometimes we say EBT, sometimes we say SNAP, but it's basically the same thing when we're talking about farmers markets. So we have around a third of the markets in Virginia accepting SNAP. It was, the USDA did go through and cull some markets out of the state a few years ago. If you didn't have any SNAP sales, then you might have lost your FNS approval to accept SNAP. But we are around 90 markets, I think, at this point that accept SNAP. And you really should consider participating if you have the capability with your staff time at your farmers market, because it really does mean that everyone within your community can purchase that healthy local food. And there are a bunch of resources in the state. This is the best time in the whole world to start accepting SNAP because there are many, many resources lined up to assist you. So there are a few things to learn when you are starting to accept SNAP. And so my number one suggestion to people is to figure out if there is a farmer's market near you, if you are a market manager, that accepts SNAP, and become their friend. Go visit them, and maybe you can observe a few SNAP sales, a few SNAP transactions, and just kind of get a feel for the program if you've never done it before or don't really have any familiarity with the program. So basically, a SNAP transaction at a farmer's market starts with you, the market manager, or someone who is hired or volunteering with your market to run that machine that the SNAP card gets run through. So basically, that means that the customer comes up to your market information tent. Usually, they'd say, I want to spend $10 of my SNAP benefits here today. You will take their EBT card, it looks like that, and run it through your EBT machine, which is a special machine. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then those funds in the back end are drawn down to your market's checking account. But right there in the moment, what you're going to do is hand out wooden tokens. Each one is $1. And the reason that you are using wooden tokens is that because you can't give them cash like an ATM, because they are afraid of fraud in the SNAP program. So we use scripts. So that is, most markets use wooden tokens. So each wooden token is $1, and then that person goes and shops in the market. And so that's a basic SNAP transaction. So then at the end of the day, you, of the market manager or whoever is running that machine for your market, will go to each vendor who is selling SNAP approved foods and collect the tokens, and then you will write your farmers a check from your checking account where those SNAP funds were drawn down into. There are a bunch of foods that are SNAP eligible. SNAP is very different than WIC, which is the Women, Infant, Children's Federal Nutrition Program. SNAP is basically, you can buy anything that is not a hot prepared food, or alcohol, or anything like that. If it's meant to be like hot and eaten right there, then you can't use SNAP to purchase it. But you can use SNAP at a farmer's market to purchase meat, poultry, dairy, baked goods, all of that, like a big cake or something that you're going to bring home and eat. All of that is SNAP approved. And then you're going to be hearing later today from the Virginia Fresh Match program, which is a SNAP incentive program. So that's kind of your second tier. Once you start accepting SNAP as a farmer's market and you have your feet under you have all your vendors aware of the program, you have your customers aware of the program, you might want to consider enrolling into a SNAP incentive program such as Virginia Fresh Match, or thinking about having to fund it locally if you're not interested in Virginia Fresh Match, although I urge you to think about Virginia Fresh Match. So that means that a person coming to your market spending 10 of their SNAP dollars, you have somehow funded a second pot of money through Virginia Fresh Match or something similar, so that they get another $10. So basically it's a match, $1 for $1 match of their SNAP dollars. That second pot of money is often limited to only fruits and vegetables for funding reasons because of the grant that is attached to. And that basically means a really big benefit to the farmers in your market because there are more SNAP dollars being spent at their stands. And a really big incentive to the SNAP customers who are seeing basically a 50% discount on their purchases within the market. So it makes the food more affordable and makes your farmers really happy. So that's the basics of what a SNAP incentive is, but you'll be hearing more about that later today. So this is the last numbers I got from FNS. As you can see, it only goes through June of last year. So we had a huge jump in SNAP sales of last year. So this number is actually probably going to be a lot bigger. I just haven't gotten the final numbers of it. So this column here is the number of markets in Virginia who are authorized to accept SNAP. This column here is the number of markets who are actually having SNAP sales. So as you can see, there's always a little bit of a gap in that, and that's really where my program comes in. I really want you to have a successful SNAP program, and I'll talk a little bit more how we can help you with that. But these are really big numbers of SNAP sales in Virginia, and then when you consider the incentive programs that are running in Virginia, this is basically not quite doubling, but really increasing the impact of these SNAP sales for our small farmers and vendors. And these are all funds you can only access for your local vendors and farmers and community if you start to accept SNAP. So what are the basic steps of accepting SNAP? The number one step you have to do is to get approved by FNS. So that is the USDA's Food and Nutrition Service, and they approve all SNAP outlets such as stores, corner stores, things like that, but also farmers markets. So you would do that online. Once you get that number, so they'll give you an authorization number. Once you get that number, you have to think about where you're going to get your EBT machine. So we have a very special guest here today from DSS. That's the Virginia Department of Social Services, Christy Horn. She's going to talk about her EBT program in just a minute. So the state of Virginia is very lovely and supports our farmers markets by offering free EBT machines, and they will also pay for the monthly fees for each swipe of the card. If you don't go that route, you can also purchase an EBT machine, you can rent an EBT machine. There are now starting to be apps that are being piloted. So there are a few different ways, but I always like to say free is the best. So I will encourage you to think about the Virginia Department of Social Services EBT program. And then step 3 is you really got to get your market ready for this new program. So that includes training your vendors on what are these tokens, how do I get reimbursed, what can I sell, what is approved, all of that. Any staff running the machine and also being able to explain this program to both vendors and customers is very, very important. And then marketing the program. So remember that gap between the number of approved markets and then the numbers who are actually making sales. That gap is marketing. So the number of people on SNAP there's a huge churn in that SNAP caseload. So you're always going to have new SNAP customers because they come off, they come on due to, just life. And so you really always have to be thinking about how are you explaining to your shoppers what is SNAP, that you can use it at the farmer's market, and if you have that SNAP incentive, that is also an added benefit. So Christy is going to go after me, but you want to be very aware of that free EBT machine program. That's a very exciting benefit from the state. But my program is the Family Nutrition Program. And so we are, again, under Virginia Cooperative Extension, and we offer a lot of technical assistance to market managers. So that includes the EBT Toolbox, which I will drop the link in the chat. but this is just on Google. It's a folder on Google that has marketing templates. So if you are, a little bit worried about marketing, you don't have the ability to design your own things, we have templates that you can download and print on your own and make specific to your market. We also have the EBT manual. If you're sitting there listening to me and like jotting everything down, you don't have to. This is all written down step by step for the state of Virginia. Within this EBT toolbox is the manual. There's also a forms for accounting, so you don't have to figure that out for yourself. There's also vendor training tools. So if you're like, how do I, get this out to my vendor in the right way? All of examples of all of that are in the EBT toolbox, and I'll drop it in the chat while Christy's talking. Another thing that we have in the EBT toolbox, or you can partner with your local SNAP-Ed funded agent on this, is something I created called the SNAP self-assessment tool. So it's really designed for, again, those markets who are having low sales or no sales, to help you pinpoint the areas of improvement in your SNAP program. So it's basically a survey. You fill it out. It'll ask you yes or no questions. Do you have permanent signage up around your market that you accept SNAP? That's very easily read. Yes or no? Yes, great, good for you. No, here's a link to the EBT toolbox if you want to print some out. So each no will lead you to a resource to solve that problem for you. It's in the toolbox. Take a look at it. It's free for you to use and think about. It really gives you like a next 2 or 3 steps to improve your SNAP program. A lot of the questions are also pinpointing, like, I don't have a great word for this, so I keep saying the welcomingness of your market, right? So SNAP is often a politicized program. And so you want to think about, if you as the market manager are very excited about the SNAP program, is the person your customer interacting with, all of them also equally excited and welcoming? Because if not, word of mouth gets around. And so that might also be something that is happening in your market, maybe that you weren't aware about. So this survey can kind of start to get you thinking about maybe that challenge as well. Not that that happens a lot, but it can happen. I did want to point to, we have a Virginia Fresh Match Market Season Kickoff event. This will be March 30th. It's 10 a.m. via Zoom. A link will be sent out by Virginia Fresh Match. I'm also hoping that VAFMA will help me spread the word through their channels. Thank you. All are invited. And so really the point of this event is to celebrate the past 3 years of funding for the Virginia Fresh Match incentive, and to celebrate the fact that we have another 3 years ahead of us for funding. So celebrate that, kick off the market, remind everyone that the markets exist and that they double their dollars there, and then also to talk about the impacts of the past 3 years. So Virginia Cooperative Extension was the evaluator of the past 3 years of the funding. And so we had a lot of exciting findings about the effect on customer intake of fruits and vegetables and all that good stuff. So that will also be covered as well. And then the other last thing I wanted to touch on was the Market Manager Survey. Please keep an eye out for that from Virginia Fresh Match and from VAFMA or from Cooperative Extension. All 3 of us will be sending that out. Please fill it out once. If I've ever helped you, please do me the favor of filling out this survey. I really, really use this data. So this data asks about basically the state of farmers markets and managers' need to make markets stronger in Virginia. So you're looking at data from 2020 because I'm going to be asking you in 2022 about 2021. So the data is always a year lag behind, but it really gives us an idea. For example, like this is 48% of answering markets have paid year-round staff. And so these numbers have really jumped around the past few years. We have more and more paid either year-round or seasonal staff running markets in Virginia, and that's very, very exciting for us at the state level. So you'll be hearing about this survey. If you're interested in this data from 2020, I'm happy to share this with you, but this data is used by myself, VAFMA, and Virginia Fresh Match to advocate and explain to decision makers about farmers markets in Virginia. So keep an eye out for that survey as well. So here is my information if you have any questions. I'm going to let Christy get on as well. She is from the Virginia Department of Social Services with that free EBT machine program. If you need to contact me for technical support around your SNAP program at farmers markets, you always can. And while Christy is speaking, I will drop the link to the EBT toolbox in the chat box.
Thanks, Meredith. And we have a lot of questions about folks that want your older data and the survey.
Ooh, really?
As well as, yes, as well as lots of questions about nickels.
Everyone's getting it on the survey.
Get that survey out. We're happy to send that out.
Yes, Christy's here. Okay. Ooh,
and then for those of y'all that were asking about where do you get the wooden nickels, information's been dropped in the chat. As part of your membership in VAFMA, you also get a reciprocal membership in the Farmers Market Coalition, and they have discounts on their website. Mary will include that in all the information that she sends out after the meeting. And just to reiterate, yes, we will send out all of the presentations. You'll get a big follow-up email while we're waiting for our next presenter to jump on that has all of the information presented today.
Christy, can you speak again? Yeah, I can't hear you for some reason. I can see you speaking. She's saying give her 1 second. While she's talking, I'll drop this. So this is the EBT toolkit. Also in there, I just dropped in there the other day, Christy put in an updated summary of the EBT machine program for the Department of Social Services. So this is also now in the toolkit.
Great. Lots of questions about WIC and senior programs. Kelly Wright is a great friend of VAFMA. We should have had her on the call. I don't know why. Well, next time. And reach out to her on WIC and senior benefits if you want to let her know that your area is interested in them. The more they hear it, the more likely we will be to get it someday.
It looks like Christy's trying to call in.
Robert, do you have a local SNAP lead in your area? And Elizabeth Forrest, when she speaks, we'll be putting that information up as to who all the local SNAP leads are within different areas around Virginia. And she would be that person would be the best person for you to reach out to help with your city council meeting. Entertain us, Meredith, while we're waiting for Christy.
Well, I can show you the EBT toolkit while we
yeah,
waiting. That might make
while
sense.
we're waiting. How about that?
So here is your manual right here. So this is your step-by-step guide. Show you how to get those nickels. That website is listed in here. Glossary of terms, what it looks like for a market day procedures, what we just ran through very quickly here. And then some accounting tips as well. And then it goes through how to get your, oh gosh, that looks terrible. How to get your program out there to the public. This is a really important step, is the marketing. So you want to get that as well. So that is, sorry, I have to move this around. That's the manual. And then there's also all of the marketing tools are in here that you can always use. There's both social media tools, and then I went in and recently had these redesigned. So these are all things you can use. This is one I'm especially proud of. Stole this from New York. It's a low literacy postcard. So if maybe someone's English is not their first language or something similar, it talks about what you can buy with an EBT card at a farmer's markets, what is allowable, just using illustrations. And then this is the back of that postcard that you can have printed. So it talks about where to get your tokens, and then what you just shop, and then what to do with leftover tokens. So you might want to click around in here to figure out exactly what tools we have. And then the SNAP self-assessment tool is this folder as well. And then Christie's updated wireless device handout is right here. So this has a new email for you to get information from, so that's important to know. It's not the old email. And her information as well is here. So lots of good stuff in there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
We have a couple of hands up. Margaret Townsend, did you have a question for Meredith? I'm not sure if the hands are still up from before.
Maybe.
Sharon, did you have a new question for Meredith? No. All right.
Can't get unmuted. Kim, it's Margaret. I'm trying to get unmuted. Now I'm
Okay. Okay. I can't tell whether the hands are new or still up from before.
I know
sorry.
this one is. This is exactly what Meredith has just been saying is exactly what we're dealing with. We have our EBT machine. You can't see me, but we have it from that free program through Virginia. And we are approved by Department of Ag. I have my FNS number. I keep being told by the Department of Health and Human Services in Alexandria that I must undergo a training to use this machine, and that they are trying to design a platform. So I can't get trained to use it. We've been marketing it to our customers. We're in a low income region. I have customers who are seniors coming by wanting to use SNAP, and I have to keep saying, guys, I'm not trained yet. How do I put a burr under the hands of my local DHS office?
This is Margaret. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we can hear you.
So you can contact me, Margaret. Fire is lit. I heard you.
Oh, good. Is this Esperita by chance?
Christy Horn. I am BDSS.
Oh, Christy Horn.
So,
thank you. Thank you.
So I will put my contact information in the chat. Meredith, you'll get this out to the managers, the flyer that I created.
Yep.
I did put in the chat where you can go to become an authorized vendor so that you can receive SNAP benefits. I put that out there. I'm going to also put out there a general mailbox where you can email questions and concerns.
Okay.
Because we can also do replacements. So if you have a machine that's not working, if you already have an FNS approved ID number, all you need to do is email me that information, your market name, your contact, your phone, your email address, your FNS number, and we will get our vendor, our EBT vendor, out to send you out a new machine, and it should have instructions with it. So
great.
I'm not sure about what training, but
yep. And I will tell you, I have the machine. It's brand new. It just came to me a month ago. But what I am being told by by Alexandria Department of Health and Human Services is that they have to train me on the machine. And until they do that, I'm not allowed to accept SNAP tokens. And they're doing their best, but they have also been told that they have to create a platform to train all of the SNAP vendors. And they're having trouble creating that platform. But we have low-income seniors right around the corner who really want to use these SNAP benefits. So any assistance you all can provide, I would be most grateful for.
Okay. And Margaret, if you can actually, I don't know if you can see my information. Meredith, can you put my contact information
we have.
in the chat?
Yep.
For her?
It's right in the chat, yeah.
What I'm not understanding is that there's a platform, so I will have to take this back. And I will contact our partners, our vendor partner, to find out exactly what they're talking about with the approved training, because that's not something I've been made aware of. Yes.
And Christy, we have folks in the chat that we have multiple markets that are having the same issue, as well as those that machines are shutting down at the end of the month and they can't get anybody to get them a new machine, et cetera. So we'll put your information in the chat so that they can all reach out to you and make sure everybody has your information.
Absolutely.
Oh,
and you can also use, yes. So, because we need to find out where this is coming from. And so I was like, is this just an Alexandria issue?
It's not. It looks like it's a Commonwealth issue. And so absolutely, we can address this. I have a meeting this week with our vendors, so I will definitely touch base about that. I'm not sure where that information came from, but I can definitely find out, and I will make sure that this information is provided back to the Farmers Market Association, so that we want to get that up. We want to really nurture this partnership.
Of course.
It's a benefit, not only, it's a benefit to everybody. It's a win-win. We want to be able to put your information on our platform on VDS so that our clients know that they can go and get fresh nutritional foods. We want to use some of you all's social media information so that we can drive customers to you, and that when you have issues, you have a direct contact so that those issues can be resolved. If we know that we're experiencing issues, that we can notify you all and say, hey, there's an issue, because we also don't want customers to have a bad experience at the farmer's market and then associate it with the farmer's market. So if there's an issue on our end, we want to be able to navigate that and provide you all that information.
Thank you. Because that's what we're having. People coming to because we've advertised we can take SNAP. And as I say, low-income seniors are coming by, and not just seniors, trying to use their SNAP cards, and I have to turn them away. That's horrible. I feel dreadful. Any help you can give us, thank you.
Right. Absolutely. I see in here someone said something about toll to pay.
Well, I don't know about
those. I don't know what that is, but I can't say that that's a VDSS supported system. It's not, and so that's not something where if you had issues or if you're getting charged, that we could assist with that payment, because we could not. So right now, if you accept any other debit card, Visa, MasterCard, there's a charge for those fees on swipes. But if you get equipment that is issued through VDSS services that we're providing on our contract, that you will not incur a fee for the EBT SNAP-only purchases. So if they're doing SNAP-only purchases, there's no charge for that. And then, like I said, we will also assist you with the equipment, which is free, as well as trying to figure out any maintenance or replacement. That would be free.
Oh, thank you. Because I have a little box sitting right next to me in this conversation, so I could reach out to you with questions. Thank you.
So
You're welcome. Absolutely.
So, Christy, this is Kim Hutchinson. So, VCE and the Virginia Fresh Match has said that they'll be glad to put together a separate call to talk through all these specific issues in detail. We're so thrilled that you're here. So we're going to let you get started, and all of the questions regarding this we can take up in a separate meeting specifically for SNAP. How about that?
Absolutely. That works for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christy's the best. Thank you, Christy.
You're welcome.
So, Christy, do you want to walk us through the application process, or?
Well, in the interest of time, it is actually on the flyer. So once they go online to that USDA website, it'll actually walk them through the process of submitting that application. Once it's approved, they will get an FNS number. And then the only thing they need to do is to email me this information that's directly on the flyer that Meredith has, is going to put out to everybody. And any questions, problems, even going through FNS, if you want to email me or go to the website askva_FM, ess.virginia.gov, I can still walk them through the process through FNS as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're so thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
Super. All right. Yeah, thank you, Meredith and Christy. You guys are invaluable to the farmers market world, and especially SNAP and stuff like that. As they've said, if anybody has any questions or anything, reach out to them. We all market managers think we're SNAP experts, and every day something new comes up, but those are the actual experts. So reach out to those guys. We are rounded home plate right here. Last but especially not least, we have Elizabeth Borst from Virginia Community Food Connections. I got it right this time, Elizabeth, with Fresh Match updates. This goes hand in hand with many market SNAP programs and everything like that. So Elizabeth, if you are ready, floor's all yours.
Meredith, you have to stop screen sharing so I can. There we go. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ricky. It's great to see so many partners and friends and regional leads. And I promise to be really fast because it's been a ton of information that's been shared already. Can you see that? Yes? Okay.
Yeah, it's not in presentation now. There you go.
There we go. Okay. Well, hello, I'm Elizabeth Borst. I work with the Virginia Fresh Match Network. We're going to talk a little bit about, well, we'll pick up where Meredith left off. Markets in Virginia have been accepting SNAP for a long time, and many of us have kind of grown up together and figured out these processes and kind of developed a network to support one another in this work. Last time I checked, there were about 106 markets authorized to accept SNAP. And as Meredith said, these SNAP redemptions have been going up year over year, particularly since 2020 and 2021. We've seen super growth in the number of folks using SNAP at markets. You know, again, I don't want to repeat anything Meredith has said, but the reason for accepting SNAP at your market is that it really supports that food equity and access in your community. If somebody can't use their available currency, they're probably not going to shop at your market. So we really want to. Our whole goal here is to facilitate you all in doing this work and help knock down those barriers that prevent you from serving the SNAP participants in your community. And every community has SNAP participants. So let me talk just briefly about Virginia Fresh Match. This is our nutrition incentive network. We work collaboratively to increase nutrition access through SNAP. We do that by doubling the value of SNAP at farmers markets and other participating retail sites. Currently, we have about 90 partner outlets in every region. That it does include farmers markets and mobile markets and farm stands and rural general stores and community-based food retailers. And you know, the impact it continues to grow, and it really is valuable income for your market. In 2021, that impact was over $1.3 million. So without having that SNAP capability at your market, and then potentially adding the Virginia Fresh Match incentives to make the produce more affordable, you're missing out on some of these important dollars. As I mentioned, there's been huge growth, 90% growth in 2021 in the amount of SNAP and Virginia Fresh Match being used at markets. So the way Fresh Match is set up is we've got 10 regional lead organizations. You can see who they are scattered around this map. Most of them are leading food access groups and farmers market organizations who've kind of stepped up to play this role, just as VAFMA has developed their regional lead system. But these regional leads are specific to the Virginia Fresh Match Network to help outlets in their area learn about incentives and how to offer them in addition to SNAP. So we have a lot of resources. We use network calls that connect all of our outlets, and we provide a lot of marketing resources as well. Mostly, though, it's about peer-to-peer support. It can be hard and lonely to do this work in a parking lot, and so we really value the ability to work with other practitioners and share what we have learned about how to do this. And we're all learning all the time, as Ricky said. We have expertise, but things continue to change, so we have to keep learning. We've got a really wonderful we've got a lot of wonderful partnerships. First and foremost with Virginia Cooperative Extension and with VAFMA, but a unique one that has just developed over the last couple of years is with the Virginia Food Access Investment Fund. I won't spend a lot of time talking about VFAIF, but those of you who are not aware of it should look up VFAIF on the VDAC's website. It is a wonderful grant program that is supporting real innovative investment in communities to using food retail to help get additional food in low income, low access communities. It's great, and they're really bringing a lot of wonderful new partners to the table. It's improving the food access landscape a lot in Virginia, so it's very exciting, and it's a first of its kind in the nation, using the equitable food-oriented development principles. So Meredith kind of took you through SNAP step by step, how you get this. or how you start becoming a SNAP retailer. I won't spend time on this, but again, reach out to SNAP-Ed. They are your first line of defense in getting information. If you run into a snag, it's your local SNAP-Ed folks and Meredith's team who can help you do that. Step 2, definitely get that free equipment from VDSS. Not every state offers this free equipment, so we want to use it. We want to show the state how valuable this is to us, and so the more of us that are using this free equipment, the better. And finally, once you're ready, once you've got your SNAP program set up and you're ready to roll, and you've decided that you want to make that produce more affordable by offering an incentive to encourage folks on SNAP to spend more at your market, you can reach out to your regional lead and join the Virginia Fresh Match Network. And if you're only just interested in learning about it, that's fine too. Reach out, we'll put you on our listserv, and you can just kind of become part of this team. And you'll always also continue to get information about Fresh Match through our partnership with VAFMA, which we value a lot. So again, we offer that peer-to-peer support for practitioners. You would sign a contract and you would report your SNAP and Virginia Fresh Match sales to LEAP, who is our fiscal agent. Local Environmental Education Project in Roanoke is our fiscal agent. And then you get reimbursed for incentives. And that is for incentives redeemed, not for the incentives distributed. And there's always a difference. But we currently have a grant that is enabling us to help pay for those incentives. And that, again, for those of us who've been doing it for a long time, the difference between having sort of a central source upon which we can draw versus going out and raising money for every dollar that we disperse, it's made life a lot easier. So some of the things that we're looking toward, we're through this new grant, the GUS COVID Relief and Response Grant. We are committed to adding and supporting new types of outlets. So we go kind of outside of the farmers market family and are working with other types of outlets as well. But we grew up in farmers markets, and we continue to work primarily with farmers markets, and we want all the markets in the state to consider being part of this. We partner with all of our these great partners that we've discussed: VAFMA, SNAP-Ed, Department of Social Services, Department of Agriculture. We're focused somewhat on piloting new technologies in the chat. There's been some discussion about total pay and other applications. There's a lot of new ways that folks are doing this out in the world, and we hope to bring some of those new methodologies into Virginia. Of course, some of you are already doing it, and we can learn from those markets that are already trying these new approaches. And we're always looking for new ways to reach SNAP customers. As Meredith said, it's a constantly changing population, and we have to continue to find new and innovative ways to let people know that they can use their benefits at a market, and that markets are not a scary place, and that the food is affordable there, and that, oh, by the way, if you have the Virginia Fresh Match incentives, you can make that even more affordable. We currently also have a request at the state legislature for some additional support, state support for Virginia Fresh Match, and we are anxiously waiting to see how that turns out. And some of you, thank you. I think Ricky mentioned the sign-on letter we sent out a couple of weeks ago, and many of you signed on, and we greatly appreciate that. It's simply a way of showing the General Assembly that this is an important program to so many of us in our communities. So quickly, if you are looking to find locations in your area, you can visit the Virginia Fresh Match website and go to the locations section, and that will show you a map of all the locations in Virginia. And you can also enter your zip code and find the nearest Virginia Fresh Match market near you. And if you are thinking about doing this, it was suggested that you go visit a market, and that is really a great way to do it. Just go hang out, watch a lot of SNAP transactions, see how all of that works, and it becomes a lot more approachable, I think, when you see how others are doing it. If you'd like to find your regional lead and connect with that individual for Virginia Fresh Match, you can also find that on the Virginia Fresh Match website under Get Involved. You'll see a list of the regional leads. And if you've got questions for us, you can reach out at this email address, or you can always reach me at elizabethforst@gmail.com. So that was as fast as I could make it, guys. Any questions quickly, and then we can break up into our breakout rooms, which I know everybody's looking forward to.
Elizabeth, can you drop the regional lead contact chat in the box? And thank you for talking so fast. I'm sorry. I knew this should have been half a day. Any news from the General Assembly?
I checked just before we got on and nothing yet. So fingers crossed. But thank you all again. This is really a continuum of opportunities, and we know that everybody's in a different place in terms of their readiness to do some of this work, but just know there's a lot of resources here when you get to that point. Thanks so much.
We have a question. Are all SNAP markets also accepting Virginia Fresh Match?
No, there are, again, about 106 authorized markets. We have about 90 partners, and that does include some retail outlets as well. So many of the SNAP markets in Virginia also participate in Virginia Fresh Match, but not all.
I will say, just FYI to this group, as part of the trail, we were able to work with our programmers in order to get the SNAP designation. Will pop up on the map showing that you're also a SNAP market. So very cool. We have a question. There are by FIP. Unfortunately, that is as low as the report is broken down by, from Sandra. Okay. Thank you, Sandra. Any last questions for Elizabeth and all the great work that they're doing at SNAP? All right. Thank you, Ricky. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. As I said, if you're not taking Fresh Match and you're a SNAP market and it makes sense for your market, absolutely reach out. I know Lynchburg Community Market, I think we were about 40 to 60. We paid out, I think, over $50,000 last year in SNAP incentives. And I think it was like a 60-40 split. So if you're not, you should. Kim, I'm going to give it to you to take us home, and then we're going to get out of our chairs for a couple minutes, and then we're going to talk in our regions.
Cool. I appreciate everybody being here with us today. Just a couple of quick things. We are looking to do these meetings, to do them quarterly. Have you guys found these effective? Would you like for us to do a large meeting like this 4 times a year, where we bring all of the markets together and talk, and we bring in speakers, give the speakers a little bit more time to talk, and then go into breakout rooms? Yes or no? I need to know that kind of information. Also, I need to know, what is it that you all want to hear from us? Because it's not the Kim show, just me up here talking. What is it that you need to hear from us, and the types of conversations that you want us to have? You're telling me what are the issues that you're dealing with are what we use to build these formats. So you need to provide that information to us also. Is there any one issue, drop it in the chat right now, that's burning issue besides these the temporary food permits? Any other burning issues right now that we need to get involved in from VAFMA standpoint? Legal updates, yep. And updates on the regs, yep. Yeah. Any other, I would like if each one was limited to 2 or 3 topics or speakers, so they weren't quite so long and you could skip if not so relevant to you. Yeah. And food access and food justice. Perfect. So keep putting that information in here, and I'm going to gather all of that. Are there any questions before we move into breakout rooms for me or for any of the speakers that are still here? We're also going to be doing a survey after this. It will be attached to the document that you receive as a follow-up that'll have all the presentations. And we're going to be asking these questions in the survey. I know people don't like to fill out surveys, but please, it's very short. It's only a couple of questions, and send it back to me, because it's how we develop our agendas. All right. As well as it'll be what we're using to develop the agendas for the conference. If there's any last thoughts, then I'm going to go ahead and flip it over to, I'm going to thank all of our speakers, and we're going to go ahead and stand up and stretch for a minute. I'm going to send it back to Ricky, and then we'll come into breakout rooms with each of the regions. So what's going to happen is the breakout rooms are going to pop up, I believe, and you choose which region for yourself to go in. Like if you're in Richmond, then you go into the capital region. And if you get into that and you decide that you want to switch, you can pop out and pop into another region. It's my understanding on how it works. We'll see. And we're getting asked if we can share other education resources like Project for Public Spaces, et cetera. How can we attract more African-American farmers to participate? Yes, all of those are great topics. So thank you. We will gather all that information and let's all take a moment to stretch, and we will reconvene at 3:09 and we'll come back. Ricky, at what time?
Let's say 3:14. I did want to say something earlier about the market manager certification. We're in the how to create successful market cities PPS training that's going on right now, and it's been great and it's been really cool to see like markets and stuff around the country and everything. But I will definitely say that there was a lot more like technical information on really how to do something in the market in the manager certification than there has been in this PPS program. So if anybody's kind of been sitting on the fence about it or anything like that,
Yeah.
Are you trying to be my best friend today? What's happening over there?
Meredith, where did you go? Your head's so big, Meredith. I can't see it on the screen. Where did it go?
I just retire.
Well, Ricky, we would like that as a testimonial, please.
as long as PPS isn't going to kick me out after.
Yeah.
No, well, we'll let you finish the class first.
Yeah, there you go.
That's great.